Alright, so this is just going to be a quick summary video. RNG definitely went kind of wonky in the middle of the crafting stream. I was not expecting 4+ streaks of 2 of the side rewards for Kupo Fortune before it jumped back to the middle one out of easily 20-30,000 plus like craps that I've done in terms of doing the Kupo Fortune. I have never seen that fucking phenomenon. I've only seen maybe a streak of 2, maybe 3 of one particular slot before one of the other 2 show up, but I haven't seen 2 slots streak that hard without the 3rd and final slot actually having any sort of a first place. I've never seen that, so that was just extremely bad. Like, if you go through and you actually like just try to like skip through and see all the Kupo Fortunes, I probably missed like, I want to say at least 7-8 casual coffers that actually came up as a reward out of those 1,000 crabs. So, I mean, I ended up getting 2 casuals out of it or whatever still. I said 3 was the average, so I mean, considering that I pretty much just trying to stick to the principle that I fucking stated, which works the majority of the time, I still ended up getting 2. I've never done 1,000 crabs and only gotten 1. 2 has been the minimum that I've gotten, and then normally I can streak later on. Sometimes I've actually gotten 4 or 5 casuals inside of a 1,000 set, which obviously just makes the profit that I'm about to show that much higher. So I started off with 11.087 million, which you guys saw at the beginning of the stream, and now I am at 3.347 mil, which means that I spent 7.74 million on materials. The original goal was supposed to be to try to have 7 million, but not being able to go inside a party finder and get them, or go inside of the market board to get materials at the prices I wanted, I went ahead and caved in a little bit and went ahead and bought them at a higher price than what I originally would have wanted. And the profit margin is so big that technically I can do this and still end up with a tremendous profit. It's just that I don't like going too high above it because it cuts into the profit margins, and I want to maximize that just out of principle. So I ended up caving this time just for the fact that I wanted to be able to keep the live stream going and to make sure that I did hit all 1,000 crafts of just a single type. So therefore I didn't, like, if it was just me by myself, I would have just switched over to another item until the prices came back down. But I didn't want to switch items because then I'd have materials that I paid for that you wouldn't be able to see the value of it, I guess you could say, converted into the final product. So I wanted to do just 1,000 straight up. So with that being said, 7.74 million is what I spent on the materials. And so just to show this, there are 4 verdant partitions that I ended up getting: 297 ruby red dyes, 99 cherry pink dyes, 198 dragoon blues. I got 2 casual coffers. I got 4 hraes Velgar coffers, 5 of the apple emotes. I got a plush cushion, 2 magic brooms, and the Morpho, Gaelicat, Pteranodon, the Dhalmel whistle, 3 leather shoes. Those are the big ones. Obviously, I still have all of these other materials that I can technically sell for a few extra thousand, along with the Stella clusters, Planet clusters. These I don't even factor this in. This whatever. This is just petty money. This is if I get undercut. This is market board fee shit. I don't actually consider this part of my net gain, so to speak. Even though it can add up for somebody that's used to a smaller amount of money. But just to go through and actually just to show these prices. So first things first is the verdant partition, which I have 4 of them, just to go through and show and add this up. And I'll also have this inside the description. Verdant partitions, I'm selling at 200k consistently. These have always been up and down depending on people buying houses, but they can easily go for 200k on any world whenever they're actually in demand currently at that time. So that's 200k each at 4 verdants. That's 800k from there. The ruby red dyes, which I have 297 of, these go for 20k. And as a side note, this is what it looks like whenever you have an item that's in high demand, and it's one of the reasons why I buy so many dyes. is because I have characters on each world, which allows me to go through and sell these, because you can easily, assuming if you were to go through and actually play devil's advocate and you were to constantly check them throughout the day in order to make sure that you're constantly the cheapest, as you can see, this is just from 6 p.m. This is just from 7 p.m. to 7 p.m. to the end of the night. And you're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 17, 22, 27, 32, 33, 36, 37, 42, 43. You're talking about 43 dies selling in the matter of 5 hours. That is a fucking high demand, and that's just on one world. So getting rid of these dies, if you actually have them spread out and you're constantly checking them to make sure that they actually stay at a competitive price, getting rid of dies ain't shit or whatever. It's actually really, really good. Arguably, technically, your best efficiency for scripts is if you can find one of the better dies, which the top 3 are ruby red, cherry, and dragoon most times. There's like 1 or 2 others that can occasionally go for well, but whenever you want to talk about high demand, this is it. But 297 red dies at 20k each is 5.94 mil. And then you have the cherry pink dies, which I actually found out recently from somebody else. I was just doing dragoon and ruby red, but cherry pink is actually going well. These are actually going for 30, they're 32 right now, which is what I'm going to use. But obviously, as you can see, these also can sell a decent amount every single day, and they can obviously go up higher if somebody was to go through and clear it out. So some worlds may be higher / lower, but I can go through and I can sell on whatever world I want to in order to maximize the profit, but the money is there. But 99 cherry pinks at 32,000, just assuming I was to just sell all of this shit on Genova. 99 cherry pinks at 32,000, 3.168 mil for that. Then I go to the dragoon blue dies, which I have 198 of those. You go to these are 22,000, 23,000 right now. Go to the market board once more, plenty of sales inside of a single day, other than technically the 22nd. The 22nd technically had a slump day, but 21st pretty good. 20th keeps going. Dragoon blues don't sell as much as what the reds do. Same thing goes with the cherry. The reds are the most expensive selling, which is the reason why I got almost 300 of those compared to 100 of the cherry pinks and then 200 of the dragoon blues. It was just my personal preference in terms of how easy it was for me to sell each of them. But 198 dragoon blues at 23k each is 4.554 million. Then I have the casual attire, which technically I'm probably going to wait for this to go back up, or I'm going to switch it over to another world, because I know that this can go for 2.3 to 2.4, but right now it's at 1.9. Right now it's a little bit low, but if I go to another world, I can easily get back up to these 2.2, 2.3, 2.4s if I really want to. But just even considering that at 1.9, that's 3.8 million whenever I sell 2 of the casual coffers. Then I have 4 of the hraes velgars, which are 79,000 right now, so roughly 80k, so that's around 320k from the hraes velgars. Then go to the apple emotes, scroll down to the bottom. These are around 30k each, so that's 150k off of the apple emotes. I go to the plush cushion, which is one of the things that I'm probably going to try to sell immediately, just because it's at a decent price right now. Is I'm going to try to sell it for 100k or whatever, because that's what it seems to be able to sell at 90 to 100. So I'm gonna go through, see if I can sell that at 100k. Sometimes the plushes are down to like 40, 50, 60,000. I'm gonna see if I can get that knocked out at 100k. But then the magic brooms, these should be maybe, yeah, these are 78,000, so roughly speaking around 160 for both of those to go through and sell. Then the Morpho is actually really fucking high. I don't even know why, but it's actually really, really high. But the Morpho is actually in the 200s, and it's actually sold a few times. Like this is technically what it's going to be on most worlds, but on Genova specifically, it's shot up into the 200s. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can milk that Morpho price specifically. There's the Gaelicat, which is technically still on the lower end, like what I expected. This is only 27k. Ooh, what's the name of it? 27k, which is a little bit, but not too much. There's the Petit Pteranodon, which is actually a decent amount. That one's always been good because it's been kind of on the rare end, but this one is 80k, which is good. And then you have the Dhalmel whistle, which is a little bit higher than normal, but has actually increased in rarity in terms of the ability for me to get it. I rarely see the Dhalmel whistle as the number one. It's what the Petit Pteranodon used to be like beforehand, when it used to go for like 300,000, at least on the Genova market. But this is 224,000. I'm just gonna put it at 200k because that seems to be, I guess you could say, like the recent average, I guess you could say, that I can try to get. I know I can at least get 150 on the low end, but I'm gonna see if I can get that 200 flat for the Dhalmel. And then the leather shoes are like, they don't sell that much, but they give you a really, really good script rate. And that's the reason why I only got 3 of them, because it's not too much of a pain to sell, but they sell really, really well for only costing 1,200 scripts. So I can get around 375 for each of these, and as you can see, these obviously still sell well. I was just like, you have the tank tops, the new tank tops that are, what's the name of it, that are like 1,800 scripts. Or no, actually no, not even 1,800 scripts. I think they're actually 2,200. They're like 2,200 Sky Builder scripts, but they barely sell for 300k. Meanwhile, you have the leather shoes, which are like half of the price, and they're selling for 100,000 more individually. The issue is that obviously the tank top doesn't take 1, 2, 3 days in order to sell a single one, but the efficiency for the scripts is actually really, really high. So if you can actually spread these out across several worlds, the Craftsman leather shoes are actually really, really good for milking money. And so 3 of those at 375k is 1.125, which I'll have all of this listed inside the description. But whenever you add all of that up from everything that I was able to get, this is excluding the 2 stellar clusters, the 10 planet clusters, the partitions, which are trash, along with all of the materials. All of this is just fucking scrap money. Just the main shit that I got that I plan on selling. Whenever I finish selling that, that is a total of 20.624 million gil worth of items that I was able to get. And as a side note, for anybody that did watch the live stream, the reason why the recording is so long is 1, I had to leave a few times. 2, I had to increase the length of my macro. Me streaming actually caused lag on my PlayStation to the point to where the regular macro speeds were not registering every input that they were supposed to. So I had to go through and I had to extend every step inside of my crafting macros. Inside of my crafting macro, I had to go through and extend all of these to a second longer, which was adding like, what is it, like 11, 12 seconds to every craft that I did. And I was doing obviously 900 plus of them. So that literally adds several hours of crafting that it would normally take. If you have 1,000 crafts, and whenever I clocked it, it was roughly speaking 45 seconds if you're going good per craft. You're talking about 45,000 seconds, which is 750 minutes, which is 12 and a half hours. Assuming you can go through and you can get all of your materials within 30 minutes, that turns into 13 hours, and then that gives you an entire hour to go through and to do the coup or fortunes or whatever. That's the reason, that's where the 13 to 14 hours tops came from. That's a rough estimate, undistracted, to where it is possible to do this in a day. And I've done this several times inside of a day in terms of making this amount of items. But that's 20.624 million gil back from 7.74 mil spent on materials, which leaves you a net profit of 12.884 million from just one day of work. You just wake up early on a Friday morning where you don't have shit to do, and you just craft and just watch YouTube, Netflix, Funimation, Hulu, whatever the fuck you want to watch, and you just craft the entire fucking day, and then you can just sell over time. That's all you have to do. Like, you can go through and you can try to find some other items that are near the efficiency, but you're talking about 12 point, you're talking about a 12 point, I was like almost a 12.9, and I technically didn't even reach my average. If I would have had the extra casual in there for another 2 million, I would have been pushing 15 million profit off of off of 1 day of crafting. Because like I said, you can always just sell over time. If you're not a huge person that wants to get into the hundreds of millions of gil and you're just looking for some spending money, just trying to get a house, just trying to buy a couple of glams, Just knock out one, just knock out one good day of crafting, and the shit is done. You just go through and you just sell slowly over time. You ain't gotta worry about shit. You just put the items in your retainer, go back to running content, go back to doing your beast tribes, role playing, go to another game, hell, for or whatever, for all I care, whatever I was like, the money is there, it's locked in. Because verdant partitions are some of the, what's the name of those, are some, I was like, those are the flower walls that people use for nature themed houses. The demand for that isn't going anywhere. Dyes aren't going anywhere. Ruby reds, cherry pinks, dragoons, those have been in fucking demand since I started the fucking game. I was like, there have been days I've sold 30, 40, 50 dyes in one fucking day because I was on top of it. Those demands aren't going anywhere. Dyes are dyes. Every time anybody who plays the game that wants a fucking bright red, which is a common ass color, gonna want that. You want to have the brightest blue, the brightest solid blue that you can, it's fucking dragoon. You have all the girls and some guys that want to have a fucking pink color. Guess what? Cherry fucking pink. It's like those colors are always going to be in demand. Casual attire, everybody's always going to want to have the cool sneakers. Everybody's always going to want to have the top. That's not going anywhere. hraes Velgar coffer, you have slick leather styles with a furry background, which is perfect for any Ishgardian themes that you want from Heaven's Ward, which is a lot of people's favorite expansion next to, what's the name of it, next to Shadowbringers. hraes Velgar isn't going anywhere. Apple emotes only 150k. Plush cushion only 100k. Broomsticks only 160. Morphos, females are always gonna want that. Even some guys like the fucking Morphos or whatever. They're always gonna want a butterfly. What's the name of it? A butterfly meme. That's always gonna have demand. Gaelicat, Pteranodon, Dhalmel, leather shoes, you're always gonna want some fucking leather shoes or whatever. Those are just like regular business shoes. There's a whole bunch of formal styles you use. Those will always have demand. They'll never go away completely. So it's like, even if I get rid of all the bullshit, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe 500k, maybe a million gets knocked off or whatever. Like if we're talking half a year in the future, may get knocked down in demand to where people may not be buying them as much. But it's like, what is 500k? What is a million when you're talking about 13 million profit on the relative low safe end? Normally I get more verdant partitions than what I did. I only got 4 this time, but sometimes I've gotten 6, 7 verdant partitions within 1,000. But it's like, it's there. That's whatever, and the shit is easy because you don't even need the highest gear like what I have. I have max crafting gear. I can go through and I can do the hardest crafts in the game because I'm completely pentamelded with the most control and the highest CP that I can have. But you don't even need that. All you literally need is just to go and get the, what is it, not even the facet gear. It's like this dwarven gear, this fucking 430 gear. You get this and you mod for CP and you can pretty much go through and do any macro or whatever that you need in order to get a high enough quality to get 63 scripts from doing those diadem crafts that I was doing. And you technically don't even need to do the job quest because I use manipulation, but because I have extra durability, if you actually want to, you can actually get away with just doing Master's Mend instead. Everything else that's inside of the rotation, technically you'll have just from naturally ranking up. You can literally do this without understanding crafting, without having to do the fucking job quest, without even having high gear. It's like you can just leave quest your way up or whatever, just go through and just buy a leave quest from somebody and then go through and buy some cheap ass 430 gear, and then you can start doing this and you can net a ridiculous amount of money. But I just figured I'd show that as an example. This is technically what I do for my crafting income, although there are slight differences in how I do it. Because the majority of the income comes from the casuals or whatever, or not the majority of the income, a good amount comes from the casuals and the Kubo Fortune, since the verdant partitions are like 200k each. Like the casuals and the verdants alone are pretty much like 5 million guaranteed income, 5-6 million guaranteed income if I wanted to. I have a guy on Sargatanis, if I remember right, that told me they have like 700 liquid million in fucking gil that they can go through and they can spend. And basically, how can I put this? I can sell to them at half of the prices of what I would normally put some of the items inside of the broker in. So say like the dyes and whatnot, I can go through and buy them the items for them to flip on their world at a ridiculously low price. to the point where I can actually just straight up sell so fucking cheap that instead of making a profit, I just break even with my, what's the name of it, I just break even with my material cost. So instead of making like say 14, 15 million or something like that from selling the fucking dyes, I can just go through and I can just sell the materials to them for just right at 8 million as an example, since I spent 7.7, but then I spent the entire day and I still got 6-7 million up front just because of the casual gear and the verdants. And I can keep doing that every single day, because I don't have to worry about selling all the items anymore. I don't have to worry about just having an ever-increasing stock of items to sell inside of my inventory. I just go through and I just ship out cheap to them, and then I'm just banking purely on the verdant partitions and the casuals. Anything else that I get helps me, but it's not the majority of my income, but it lets me get consistent income immediately, and it allows me to just keep crafting every single day. And so you can technically go through and you can just maximize your income and just sell slowly over time. You can try to find a plug, whatever. But like, this is just an example of, in this particular case, this was what I said, 12.884 million, and what is supposed to be 14 hours of work. That is an average of 920,000 gil per, what's the name of it, on 920,000 gil per hour. Even if I was to increase it to 16, still 800,000 per hour. Even if I increase it to 17, 757,000 gil per hour. It's still an increase, whatever. It's still a crazy amount of gil to be making for the amount of time that you're putting in. That is what I consider to be high-end gil compared to other little bitty shit that you can normally find on YouTube that barely gives you 200, 300,000 ish. I'll probably go through and post my what's the name of it, my methods for Boja, or what I like to do slash farm inside of Boja, along with a few other things that I've been doing in order to go through and to get gil efficiently, because added up, I've legitimately spent, since I started playing this game, I know for a fact I have probably actually broken close to 1 billion gil spent, because I broke over 500 million just on housing. And then I'm pretty sure between role playing and other stuff, I've literally spent 400 million on that. If I haven't broken 1 billion gil spent within me starting to play Final Fantasy, I'm damn near right at it. And like, that's including time for MSQ. That includes the time in order to go through and rank up all of my jobs. That's everything, and I've still already basically broken 1 billion income on this game. So I wanted to go through, and I'm probably going to go through and make it like an extended guild guide, but this is just something easy that most people can do, and I don't really care to put it out there on YouTube, because most people don't craft. It's like most people find it boring, and instead of just multitasking so therefore they can bear it, they just choose not to craft, or they don't want to level up a crafter, or what's the name of it, or if they do craft or whatever, it's only for a little bit of time. So it's like, okay, I don't care about a few extra people inside of the fucking ruby red dye market. It's like, the demand is still high enough to where it doesn't do anything. I don't know who the fuck is hitting me with Mimicry. I don't know what the fuck that is, but whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video with that. That's just an example of one of the things that I do for gil inside of this game before I go way more into depth on some of the other things.